Hi, my name is Matthew Poes, and you know me from my reviews and videos that I've done with Gene Delasalo over on Audioholics, or some of the past stuff I've done with AV Nirvana. Now, in this case, I'm doing a video for myself, and I'm doing it on my own channel because this really isn't about reviews of various products that I'm going to be putting into this home, but actually a new home I'm building and the journey that my family and I are taking. We've recently relocated from Chicago, Illinois to Sarasota, Florida. And we've made this decision because we decided this is what's right for us in our life. And in the process, we're getting the opportunity to build a brand new home and a custom home theater. And I want this to be a way for you all to see how we do that and how we navigate the conflicts that any family faces when they make these choices. All right, so I brought my daughter, Katya, out here because, as I mentioned, these videos are not really reviews of products. The whole point of this is to give you more of the journey that my family is going through. As I said, we relocated from Chicago, Illinois. Katya, you gotta face the camera. We relocated from Chicago, Illinois to Sarasota, Florida, where it's much warmer, the weather's better. Katya, do you like it here? You don't know? Do you like the beaches? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she likes the beaches at least. And she's in kindergarten here. She's been having a good time. But you know, we're building a new house, and that's really what this is going to be about. Now, like many of you, the resources that I dedicate to building a home theater in my home have to be balanced against other, probably arguably more important resources that I need to be spending in other places. So no matter what, even if I find ways to save money or I get something for free given to me, it doesn't change the fact that this is time and money that goes into the home theater instead of time and money that goes into other things like my kids' education, my retirement funds, my vacation, other things in the house that might be more important. Maybe my wife wants nicer floors, or she wants the walls to be painted with better paint. All of these are balances that I have to kind of strike as I'm going through and making decisions. Do I put in 3 layers of drywall on the walls? Do I put in 3 layers of plywood, tongue and groove, on the floors to make it more soundproof? Or do I put in nicer kitchen cabinets? And so as we go through that journey, and all of the arguments my wife and I are going to have and already have had, I wanted you guys to see that process so that when you're making those decisions, you can understand how I made compromises and why. So when we built the first house back in one of the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, we ended up not putting in a theater initially. Basically, we bought the most house we could afford, and we just couldn't justify putting any money into dedicating a space to a theater. But we did have extra bedrooms, and that's what we used. The problem was the house wasn't huge, and the bedrooms were small. It had a lot of rooms, actually, given the square footage, and all the rooms had small dimensions. So I had dedicated the space that couldn't have been more than maybe 10 by 11 feet to my home theater. Now that was fine, that's what I could do at the time. I was able to get my equipment in there, but it wasn't really what I had always dreamed of. After a couple of years, my wife and I decided that we had saved up some money and that we wanted to actually have some more finished space in the house, and the basement was totally unfinished, had 9-foot ceilings, and we thought, this is great, we can do something with this. So we hired somebody to come in, and at a pretty modest price actually, we were able to finish the basement out, and she allowed me at that time to make the decision to do a dedicated theater. Now, me being me, and given that my wife has a very low tolerance for any kind of noises coming from anything I'm doing, basically, I ended up deciding to do a soundproof theater. And I used everything that I knew and had learned and even had used in consulting work before to build what was, for me, my first own personal soundproof theater. Now, there's no denying it cost extra money, and it did cost extra money. But in our case, this ended up being better than we expected. So on the one hand, most of what I did worked really well. The room was extremely soundproof compared to even most other soundproof theaters, and most of the music and sound was contained. Allowed me to watch movies at reference levels at 1 in the morning and nobody woke up. On the other hand, I didn't do everything perfectly. One of the things I didn't really consider all that well was just how much vibrational energy those subwoofers that I had, which consisted of a couple of 18s and a couple of very high output 12 mid-bass modules, were able to shake the house. And so even though the room was fully decoupled, the equipment I used was still on the cheaper end of things and not quite as decoupled as I had probably needed it to be. Unfortunately for me, my wife tended to like to work at the dining room table, which sat right over my theater. And as a result of that, it tended to shake that. According to her, it actually bounced up and down when I was playing movies. So I didn't do everything the way I wanted it to, and I had some bad luck. Now, one of the other concerns my wife had raised was that we did spend extra money on this. I would guess probably at least $15,000, maybe $20,000 extra went towards making it a dedicated theater versus just a finished space when all was said and done, the acoustics, all the soundproofing materials, etc. And she was really worried we wouldn't get that money back. So when we went to sell the house, we thought, well, you know, if we can at least sell the house for a certain number, we're going to lose some money, but it's not going to be that bad. And we'll have had our enjoyment, and who's going to complain? Well, it turned out the house sale went really well. Not only was that theater the star of the show, people kept coming in and commenting on it, but everybody who made an offer said they wanted the theater to be kept intact, and that was part of the offer they were making. So we ended up having to find a way to, I didn't want to give them my theater equipment because it was all pretty expensive and very personal, but I did make sure that the theater was kept intact, and we got a better deal on the house so that we ended up recouping 100% of what we spent to put that theater in and everything else in the house, which is very unusual. We had made numerous upgrades, and at the end of the day, we basically lived there for free. So I'm hoping to make the same kinds of decisions here. And for those of you who are trying to make an argument with your wife about why you should be allowed to install a home theater, just say, hey, Matt was able to get his money back. All right, so as these videos progress, one of the things I want to show you is not just the home theater process, but I do want to go into that. And I want to show you the compromises I'm going to be making and the back and forth discussions, or full-on arguments I'm going to have with my wife over what we can and can't do in that soundproof theater. But I also want to show you how this is going to be a smart home. Now, you guys know Gene De La Sala has been doing a new smart home for himself, and he's put in a lot of really good technology into that home. This is not going to be like that, and if for no other reason than my wife just has no tolerance for a house cluttered by electronics. As much as I might think a full-on lighting control system from Lutron is cool, and you push scenes and the lights go in a certain way, for her, if it's anything more than a switch, she's not going to be okay with that. So what we're going to be doing is compromising in a way where the home will still be a smart home. We're going to have a video doorbell, there's going to be security cameras, there's going to be, there will be actually a lighting system of some sort in it. But at the end of the day, most of it is going to be simpler stuff that's easier to implement, cheaper to do, and limited to what has to be smart, rather than just making everything over the top. There won't be speakers in every room. There's actually only going to be probably 2 TVs in the whole house, plus a projector, and that's it. There's going to be maybe 1 in our bedroom and 1 in the living room, and so at the end of the day, I want to show you what can be done on a budget with reasonable stuff. And I've worked with some companies to be able to bring products into this home that I think are going to be much more attainable for those of you watching these videos. So hopefully, as you see me implement these, you can see the pluses and the minuses. In many cases, these products are cheap for a reason, but what I'm hoping is that I found things that are, yes, they're cheap, but maybe not for a reason. Maybe they're just a good deal. One example would be Wisecam. It's one of my favorite companies is Wise right now. They're very inexpensive, but the products are really good, and I've had very good luck with them. And so I've been able to not only get all the security cameras I need for the house through them, many of which I actually purchased because the price is so good, there's no point in trying to work out a deal. But I've also got the new video doorbell and a bunch of other products from them as well that I'm hoping you'll see and find as cool as I did. On top of that, there's going to be some other lighting control systems that I'm going to bring in, which aren't too expensive, and there's something you can buy at a hardware store. We're going to integrate that into the home, and basically you're going to see the whole process and the journey, the good and the bad. For all I know, it's going to suck. But I wanted you to see that so that you can kind of understand for yourself. So over the course of these videos, basically I'm going to be showing you our journey. Right now you can see there's nothing to see. They basically started to put in the footers, the foundation. The house is just starting to go in. There's not a lot, but over time more and more the walls will go up, and that's going to require more of the things you have to do, the pre-prep you have to do during the house building period to be able to get it ready to be a smart home with a dedicated theater. I think the most interesting part is going to actually be when the second floor goes in, and that's when the theater is going to go in, and so there's going to be a lot of special things that are done. As I said, totally normal construction techniques, just done differently to get sound isolation. So, like my videos, subscribe to the channel. I've never used this channel before, so this is first, so please subscribe and like these videos and follow along as we go on this process. Well, this is my cute daughter, Lisa. She was born during the pandemic, and if you want to see her grow up in the midst of this house building process, like my videos and subscribe to my channel, you can see more of her. Come on, look at that face.